I wanted to thank Holger for joining us today. He's from Metabrewsociety, and I wanted to learn a little bit about his project and what they've been building. So, welcome to the show. How you doing? What's Metabrewsociety?
Yeah, no, thanks a lot for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here. And yeah, absolutely. So we're Metabrewsociety. We started our project in April this year, May this year, when we first went out with the idea. And the idea basically was created about a year ago. We're founders team of 7, and we've been knowing each other for quite some time. And we sat together by the end of last year and thinking about developments in the NFT space and what our experiences were and where we thought the whole thing would be moving. And we all had participated in rug pulls. Passively participating in rug pulls.
On the bad end, huh?
On the bad end of it, exactly. And we were sitting there and discussing. Look, I mean, the idea NFT and utility. I mean, there's a lot of potential in this technology, and there's a lot of potential also in utility. And why does utility always have to be so undefined? So a vision of let's build something together. We don't know yet exactly what it's going to be, but we'll find something. I mean, it's very often it was like that in the last year. And we said, I mean, Web3 has a huge potential, especially with regard to consumer products. Yeah, so the brand community, the participation in building something together, the ability with the brand community to optimize product market fit, to really understand the value proposition of a product and a business and how to optimize it together actually with the customers as a focus group. So we sat together and we're thinking about kind of what could we contribute in the space. So what's something that we could do with real utility, something where we could maybe change a little bit the way people are thinking about utility and utility structured. And then suddenly the idea was on the table, let's buy a brewery. And we thought the idea is funny enough to basically kind of think about it. And but it sounded really like a funny idea in the first moment. Yeah, we were sitting together over a couple of beers and getting drunk that evening. And the next morning, kind of each of us remembered what we were talking about last night and calling each other and said, well, do you remember what we said? Buying a brewery, could that be, I mean, is this a joke or could this be real? And we all thought, I mean, the idea is actually is cool enough to start thinking about how we could realize it and how we could combine that with an NFT. And so the original idea was then to say, let's do a drop, and from the proceeds of the drop, let's buy the brewery, and then basically have the NFT holders as shareholders in the business, and let's build this together. Then we had a few conversations with our tax advisors and attorneys, and immediately found out it's not going to go that way. First thing is, if someone kind of would buy the NFT to become a shareholder, the NFT would be financial security. So
Right.
in the United States, you need a license for trading. Here in Europe, you need to basically get a kind of okay on the particular emission by the bank's regulator. And so this is thing that is getting overly complicated. Then we were shifting the idea on, let's, instead of kind of being shareholder in the business, what about us basically just giving the NFT holders beer for free from the brewery, and not a little bit of beer, but a lot of beer. And so we were looking up kind of what's the average consumption of the average Middle European and average American, and kind of how much annual consumption is there. And the annual consumption is between 70 and 80 liters, which is actually quite a bit, but which corresponds to about 200, between 200 and 240 cans of beer per year. And these kind of 0.33 liters cans. Yeah. So so between 200 and 240 cans. So we said, wouldn't that be cool if we actually would sell the NFT and do a beer allowance, an annual beer allowance, beer for free every year, that covers the whole average consumption of the average adult person in a developed country.
So first of all, I'm deeply curious about how much a brewery actually costs, if you can answer that.
It's difficult to say how it costs. I mean, we acquired and then what we actually did, we acquired and we own the brewery already. So I'm talking about the process in a minute. So the brewery that we acquired is a brewery that's with 120 years of history. It was family owned for 120 years. It has a standing annual capacity of about 10,000 hectoliters, which translates into about 3 million cans. And our idea is that we expand that brewery, and kind of central elements of the brewery are in the right order of magnitude, that we can expand the brewery to an annual capacity of about 30,000 hectoliters, which corresponds to about 10 million cans per year. And so it's a little bit difficult to say kind of what does the brewery cost, because the brewery we acquired is missing part of the equipment that we need to do that, that basically whole capacity. What I can answer you is basically what we have in terms of total investment in order to get to that capacity, including can filling machine, including label printers, including labeling machines, including de-alcoholizing machine, because we also want to do non-alcoholic brews, etc. And the total invest that we need for that, to set this up as we wanted, with the production capacity of about 10 million cans per year, is in the order of magnitude of $3 million.
Which is really reasonable for an NFT project to raise.
Absolutely, yeah. So, but the point then also was, then when we started in April and May, and then the kind of the market crashed, and the early community basically gave us the feedback saying, so let's say, I mean, we came up with a business case early on where we said the NFT would have to cost around $1,000, because otherwise we're not able to basically cover the cost of the utility, the 200 to 240 cans per year. And our idea was to guarantee that for 3 years, for the first 3 years, and then afterwards based on profitability. So if we're profitable, we're reinvesting the profits first into kind of covering the utility for the NFT holders, and then doing everything else. Yeah. So we guarantee it for 3 years, and afterwards based on profitability. But that means that on average, we're guaranteeing something like 700 cans of beer over a period of 3 years. And this is something that it needs to be covered by the mint price, at least that. Yeah.
Right.
So when we did the business case, we said, well, the price for the NFT needs to be in the order of magnitude of $1,000. But then the early community basically came and said, well, look, I mean, market is crashing right now. Yeah. So kind of when we started, the price of ETH was around $3,500, and then suddenly, kind of in June, it went to 1,000. So situation was a little bit was getting difficult, and we had a lot of people that actually said, well, if we need to sell 3,000 NFTs in order to be able to buy the brewery so that the project can actually happen, then this is a psychological threshold that is probably never going to fall, because everyone is going to sit there waiting until the threshold is being taken, and then goes in and invests. So we actually turned the logic around, and we then said, well, then we probably first need to raise some money to be able to buy the brewery. And that's what we did. So we raised money with private investors that enabled us to acquire the brewery. And then finally, I mean, we postponed the mint twice, but then finally in September 22nd, we went out with the mint, and mint is still open. And we sold, so far we sold 1,020 NFTs. So we didn't collect the 3 million, and we thought in where the market was beginning of the year, we would have thought, yeah, it's pretty reasonable to raise 3 million, but with where the market went mid-year, it became more and more difficult.
But right now you guys have already raised from private investors what's required to like actually purchase the brewery. You're producing beer right now because you showed me those beautiful cans before, right? And yeah, they're quite nice. I really like the design that you guys have on the cans. I'm curious, like you guys are already distributing locally, or how is it working?
How we started is actually that we said $1,000 in the NFT space, and with all the rock pulls that had been going on, is still kind of a reasonable amount of money for the really first mint. So we started actually brewing beer um, according to, so we developed a recipe. So we have a professional brewer in the team. We developed a recipe for a beer that we all liked, and we had this recipe brewed by another brewery. So that we could actually go out and have the people taste the beer, just one sort, obviously, but have the people taste beer that how it tastes, basically. Yeah, so that is brewed
Right.
according to our recipe, so that they can convince themselves that we know what we're doing. We're able to produce beer that tastes well, and that we're able to actually fulfill and ship worldwide. And even before the mint, we had shipped about 2,500 tasting packages of 3 cans each, and we had shipped them into 40 countries. And then the mint, then we minted in September. We sold 1,000 NFTs, and so we raised from the mint about $1 million, which makes us the biggest NFT project in Germany. Um, from what I can see, the biggest NFT project in Europe, for at least for the bear market. And I don't think that in the bear market internationally there were a lot of projects that were bigger than that.
I think the value proposition that you guys are producing is substantially different. Like one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on the show was exactly because of that. The utility that you guys are producing is tangible in a way that I think, especially within the NFT space, is not very common. And I think that first I'd like to congratulate you guys on that, on producing something which really like underscores both how important the technology is, but also how important it is to have utility, which is like meaningful and useful to the people that are, part of your larger scale enterprise.
No, absolutely, and thanks a lot for this assessment. And this is exactly how we see it too. And it was important for us also that to show postmen that we're able to deliver. So this week actually, and we prepared it for the last couple of weeks. This week actually, we're shipping the first beer allowance, and we're cutting the beer allowance for the NFT holders into 4 pieces. The annual beer allowance, so we're shipping 4 times a year, 1/4 of the annual allowance, and and you need to claim the allowance shipment. So we're airdropping basically an NFT into every wallet of our where a Genesis NFT of ours is held, and with that NFT, with that allowance token, you can then claim your allowance shipment. And this is the first allowance shipment that we're sending out. And this week actually, and it's all sitting ready here in the warehouse, waiting to be picked up by DHL here for the European shipment. We're sending 700 boxes of 60 cans of beer each, and we have 40 cans of Helles, which is a kind of Bavarian style lager, and we have 20 cans of Fest beer, Märzen, which is basically the Oktoberfest beer, also brewed according to our own recipe. So we're sending out 700 boxes of 60 cans each to our NFT holders this week.
I'm curious a little bit about the logistics of that, because like 60 cans, if I go and get 60 cans from the store, that's a lot of beer, and I'm I'm guessing that like shipping that out internationally is quite the logistics affair. And I'm curious about perhaps what limitations there might be on where you ship to, where you won't ship to.
There's certainly limitations in the Arabic countries. They just don't
Sure.
let alcohol in. There are also some limitations in South America, where we're currently trying to work around, reaching out to local partners, basically trying to work around. In the United States, it's actually um, there's a lot of regulation in place. The point is simply that if you as a we're not a US business, which is an advantage here, because if you as a private consumer, if you order beer from abroad, it's basically the same as if you're bringing home beer from a trip, and there's a certain amount of beer that basically is you don't even have to pay customs. It basically differs from state by state, but it's still a significant amount, and so we have to break it up actually into pieces to be below that volume. But in the end, as a private consumer, it's your decision to actually buy beer from kind of abroad. Yeah, so we're not
Right.
in under American regulation. It's under the it's the responsibility of every private consumer where he buys the beer, and that's makes it easier for us actually than if we were a US business and would have to account for the basically interstate shipping regulations. We're also going to ship to about 40 countries. Um, I mean, Germany, EU, it's all pretty easy. Then there are countries in the Nordics, Finland, Norway, where we can ship there, but customs is quite expensive. Yeah, that's the reason why alcohol is so expensive over there. But the NFT holders are aware of that. It's still cheaper than buying beer in the country. And then US isn't the problem. Canada isn't the problem. As said, there's some problem. There's some issues in South America and in the Arabic countries.
So, the last thing that I wanted to talk about today was the use case of NFTs, which allows people to participate in the governance of a project. And I'm curious about whether that's something that you guys are interested in, whether that's something that's already active within the context of Metabrew Society. Can you talk about a bit about how people are maybe voting or making their desires known to your group?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, we have a Discord, as probably a Discord server as probably every NFT project out there as well. Um, we um, we have the chats where people exchange ideas. We have suggestions channels, questions channels where they can express ideas. But we also have the voting, and it was from the beginning. It was an important element of what we do that we said we want to involve the community in major business decisions. With one restriction, major business decisions with regard to everything related to marketing and sales. So we're basically having votes about which beers we're going to brew in the next quarter, about the label design, about the name of the brew, about the channels through which we sell, about the pricing. We're also going to use the community basically to help us optimize campaigns for classical performance marketing, Web 2 campaigns. Yeah, so trying to understand how they view our products, how they what their idea is of what our value proposition is, etc. Yeah, so we can use the collective intelligence of the community to really optimize our marketing mix in a way. So they help us take these decisions. We're not involving the community in operational decisions because, different from many other projects, we are running an operational business behind it. Yeah, so we have employees, we need to source raw materials, we need to produce, we need to ship, etc. So there's a daily operational business involved, and for that, we have a management team. Yeah, we as the founders, we are the management team. We need to take these daily operational decisions, and we're responsible for it. Yeah, we can basically say it went wrong because the community took the wrong decision. Yeah, so we're responsible for the operations. However, everything related to marketing, this is something where we do think that it's mutually beneficial if we not only involve the community, but if we actually let the community take these decisions that I said before about product mix,
Right.
pricing, channels, etc. And it works pretty well. So we're doing votes in the holders channel in our Discord. So for more qualitative votes, we do basically kind of one vote per holder, and for votes where it's really about pricing decisions, etc., we do one vote per NFT. So that you really kind of, if you're holding three NFTs, you have three votes, and that's basically how we do it. And structurally, it's not organized as a DAO, which again, as you can probably imagine, Germany is quite old-fashioned with a lot of things regulation related. There is no such thing as a DAO, yeah, legal structure for a DAO in the German legal framework. But how we did it is basically we defined, we have a total amount of 6,000 NFTs, 6,000 Genesis NFTs out there. Once we're minted, fully minted, it will be 6,000. So actually, when we set up the company, we defined the company governance in a way that we say, so we have the management team, we have the shareholders, but then we have an advisory board of up to 6,000 people, and they are the NFT holders. Um, we got a lot of questions by the kind of local notary and trade register because they had never seen an advisory board of 6,000 people, but they couldn't find a law against it. So right now we have an advisory board of up to 6,000 people, and that's how we basically legally bring in those people. The management team is not bound to the decisions of the advisory board, so of the NFT holders, but we do think that it's a good idea to adhere to it, and so we do.
Holger, I wanted to thank you again for your time and for your expertise, and of course for the beer that you're brewing and bringing into the world. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, my pleasure. Thanks a lot for having me.